I don't know if that audio was for the Mets or the Mariners. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming at KVI.com and the KVI app. You want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves? Call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle needs to hire guards for public restrooms. That's how bad it's gotten in Seattle. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
We usually save our question until the end of the segment, but I'm going to open up with it today. Do you think that the media should get federal funding? Do you think that the media should get state funding? Here in Washington, we have both. We have NPR that gets federal funding, and we have local media that gets state funding through these grants where they send people to cover Olympia who they're never going to write anything bad about their people who are their sugar daddies. Do you think the media should get any government funding at all? I think immediately that takes away the hold government accountable if you are being funded by the government. State funded, state run. What, you're ever going to be accountable for that? Come on, give me a break. No way they're ever going to be accountable for that. So here's the thing. NPR. We've discussed NPR before. We've discussed how much money they make. We've discussed how much money they pull in. And yet here at KVI, we have our wonderful advertisers. They keep us in business. We don't get federal funding. We don't get state funding. We don't get city funding. We don't get any of that kind of stuff. But NPR gets it. Is that fair? We're competing in the exact same marketplace, but forget fair. How are they ever going to be non-biased? How? They're never going to be. And in fact, yesterday, the NPR CEO, Catherine Marr, was getting absolutely destroyed by Jim Jordan when he called out their bias. The fact that they have zero Republicans in their editorial staff and boards, and everybody is a Democrat, immediately you're biased. Look, we can discuss NPR all day long. What do their programs sound like? I love my sweaty balls, right? That's what every single program sounds like on NPR with some nice sound effects in the bathroom. Very well produced. But aside from that, that's what everything sounds like. And while they're talking about their sweaty balls, what else are they discussing? Marxism, socialism. It's very quietly listen to Stalin's best hits. Very quietly listen to Lenin's manifesto. Listen to the Little Red Book. That's literally what they're doing, right? Mao's Little Red Book. That's what they do on NPR. They couch it in other things. We call it National Palestinian Radio because they're against Israel too on top of everything else. Why should they get federal funding? I want to know if you think any media outlet should get federal, state, city funding. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Give a listen to the NPR CEO getting destroyed by Jim Jordan on this very topic.
Former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time did not
Peabody
overlap.
Award? That's pretty important, isn't it?
That is, absolutely.
So pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of...
Never?
Of political bias determining editorial decisions, no.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that concerning.
Was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yeah.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the COVID origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, we became fervent members of the team Natural Origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists. Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Sorry, sir. Is there a question there?
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization.
He's right. Jim Jordan is 100% right. They are 1,000% biased. Would you like to know why? Here we go. We'll just give out. I went to Grok for a second. Grok is great at collating data. So I said to Grok, I asked Grok a very simple question. That's Twitter's AI, X's AI. I see John Connor sitting in the corner there watching me make friends with AI, and he's giving me a dirty, dirty look. Okay, I'm making friends with the Grok, so hopefully it won't kill me, right? It won't send me to the places where they sent all those people in the resistance. So according to Grok, National Public Radio and the Public Broadcasting Service receive government funding primarily through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a nonprofit entity established by Congress in 1967 to support public media. Would you like to know how much that is? For the fiscal year 2025, just 2025, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting gets $535 million. The funding is split between radio and television. 3/4 allocated to television, 1/4 allocated to radio. $535 million. That is a leg up on the competition everywhere, and still very few people like watching the TV shows. They listen to the radio. Their ratings are very good, but the TV shows, not so much, not even here in Seattle. $535 million? Do you think they should be getting that money? Of course you don't. Now, if you disagree with me, you give me a call at 206-421-5757, or you text me at 206-421-5757. What article was Jim Jordan referencing? What reporter was he talking about? We covered this story at the time. Last April, a guy named Ari Berliner wrote an article. He said this. He wrote this for the Free Press, Barry Weiss's site. I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust. And all the questions you just heard Jim Jordan asked is what he discussed in the article. They deliberately didn't cover Hunter Biden. They deliberately blew the COVID lab leak. Every major story of the past few years, they covered it with bias because they want to keep their sugar daddies in government happy or because they agree with their sugar daddies. Well, now after the hearing before the House Dodge Subcommittee on Wednesday, GOP lawmakers are moving to defund both the Public Broadcasting Corporation and National Public Radio. Here's something else I had Grok look up. I was curious about this, okay? So how much money does the children's television workshop, now called Sesame Workshop, generate? They operate as a nonprofit. I didn't know that, by the way. They're a nonprofit. They get revenues of $54 million in 1984. In 2012, about $100 million from licensing, royalties, and funding. This is an insane amount of money. Millions upon millions, tens of millions of dollars a year. You guys need money. Go to Sesame Street. You could have gotten this money from Mr. Rogers. You could have gotten this money from Julia Childs. How many food brands advertise there? You don't need the government funding. And we can go back in time. And I can say that, yes, when you only had NBC, ABC, CBS, and NPR or PBS or whatever it is, you could make the argument. You could make it. But now, with the gajillions of dollars they're raking in, you can't make that argument. And don't forget, locally, around here, there are plenty of people getting government funding too. We know that the Seattle Times gets hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from the Washington state government of your taxpayer money. Do you know what they wrote today? Which just shows their bias. This is a little, and the entire local lamestream media is taking this on right now. Headline: Former Washington candidate Joe Kent involved in Signal group chat scandal. Can we back up for a second? That story came out on what? Monday? I read the story from The Atlantic word for word on air. Go back and check the podcast. And every time Joe Kent's name came up, I said, oh, Joe Kent, friend of the show. Or I said, oh, our friend Joe Kent. Or why is Joe Kent on there? I had running commentary as we were discussing this. Did the Seattle Times not read the article? Or is the Seattle Times holding this to try and keep the story going another day, which is beyond disingenuous, because what you're going to hear is MAGA supporter, failed congressional candidate, not Trump's nominee to be the intelligence head. No. But the MAGA, he eats MAGA for breakfast. He licks Donald Trump's orange off his face. He loves MAGA so much.
He puts out conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories that the election was stolen. Yeah, guys, did any of you read the article? By the way, this is how I know none of you actually read the article. I read the damn article. I read the article. And you know what? Everybody on the right read the article. Do you know why we all read the article? Because we're looking Talmudic style. Where can we find the flaws? Where can we find the problems? How can we do that? That's what I'm trained to do. That's how I grew up, my friends. Or where can we find this? Where's the out? Where's the spin for the Republicans? Everybody on the left just goes, oh, here's a soundbite. The soundbite is Signal chat. I'm very disappointed in some people I see as real newspaper people, as real journalists, who clearly didn't read this. I'm not talking about the Seattle Times. I'm talking about other people. Because clearly they never read the article. They just took the soundbite and ran with it. And we're funding this stupidity. We're funding this stupidity. And locally, we're funding this stupidity also because now they have these grants for the Murrow Fellowships, where these people are supposed to be covering Olympia. Who's doing the majority of the coverage of Olympia? Let's see. Jonathan Cho, Julie Barrett, Brandy Cruz, us, the Linwood Times, the Center Square. Did I miss anybody? The Washington State Standard does a little bit too. Did I miss anybody? That's about it. Maybe a few others in conservative media. But aside from that, oh, wait. Let's Go Washington and Future 42. All right, that's everybody. That's it. Is anybody down there daily from Como, Cairo, from King 5, from any of these outlets? Give me a break. This is insane. And yet, yesterday, as we discussed on the show, the Washington State Legislature, the Senate in the Washington State Legislature, is now moving to restrict reporters' access in the Capitol. Was it worth the fight, guys? Really? Now you got Brandy Cruz and Jonathan Cho suing you guys for access because you're restricting their access of the press, which they will win at the Supreme Court, by the way. You got that happening because you guys are trying to restrict their access. How many people actually come down? Does Brandy go down every day? Does Cho go down every day? Do any of these fellows go down every day? No, what you're worried about is us exposing your crazy policies. How much damage have we done already to the Democrats in the Washington State Legislature nationally? You think Jamie Peterson's going to be able to get elected to higher office ever when we start running the clips that went viral because Travis Couture shared it on social media? No way. That dude's career stops where he is if he even gets reelected. It stops dead in its tracks. This is where this guy goes. That's it. They don't want us reporting on their crazy bills. Because if we do, then Libs of TikTok gets it, then Fox News gets it, then the Daily Wire gets it, then everybody else gets it, so they are trying to hide it. And they're paying off everybody who accepts the bribe. And yes, I'm calling it a bribe. When you get $100,000 from the Washington state government. You think the Seattle Times is going to cover them honestly? When you have these fellowships running around getting money from the Washington state legislature, you think they're going to cover the legislature honestly? Because you know what the first article they should write? I shouldn't be getting money from the government. That's the first article they should be writing. No, we shouldn't be paying NPR. No, we shouldn't be paying PBS. No, we shouldn't be paying the Seattle Times. No, we shouldn't be paying any of these Murrow fellowships. You know why? Because that automatically gives them a bias. You disagree with me? You give me a call at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from our friend Jay in Idaho. Not the Jay who's hiding out there that is saying he's not hiding out there, but our friend Jay in Idaho. Jay, what's going on?
Good afternoon, Ari. Now, wait a minute. There's a lot in there that you just said, but you telling me that Joe Kent has a MAGA breakfast cereal? Where can I buy that?
Right. Now we have to have young Zach make a meme for us of the MAGA breakfast cereal that Joe Kent eats. Exactly.
There you go. Hey, so I'm preaching with you. I'm right there. It's that no funding whatsoever. It's absolutely crazy and terrible, and that's why the Dems are fighting so hard. Is because it's the dismantle of their system that they have had in place for decades, and I love that they're doing that. I even think they need to go further and look at stripping the names PBS and NPR public, national. That implies that it is a government operation. We take their money, we take their name, and then they become the communist radio network as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. You know what I think when I think public broadcasting? I think Wayne's World. Now Aurora 10 from Aurora, Illinois, right? That's what I think when I think public broadcasting. I don't think the stuff they're putting out, and let's not forget they've had to retract stuff in the past because it's been so biased or been proven wrong. So this kind of stuff, this funding needs to end. Jay, I'm right there with you, my friend. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. I'm just sitting here at Nordstrom's guzzling down some strawberry ice cream right now.
Wonderful. Did you get a balloon? Are you listening to the piano player?
No, I'm not. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, about National Palestinian Radio, I've got a question for you. I wonder how long is it going to be before they get taken off the air permanently? Because if they're going to support Palestinians and support communism, they need to be taken off the air.
Well, I got a question. Do they get any funding from Hamas, or is it just they get enough government funding they can talk about Hamas all they want? I have very serious question. I have nothing to indicate they are getting funding from them, but we found out a lot of other people are getting material from them, so I kind of wonder where their slant's coming from. Leonard, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show and weigh in, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up?
Well, news doesn't cost money, or news does not cost money, but what we're getting is lies, and lies do cost money because people are not going to go out and risk their tails unless they get paid for it. That's what we've been funding this whole time, and you brought up the Atlantic thing. I got to tell you, Jeffrey Goldberg is a purveyor of political hoaxes and basically promotes fake news at the Fake News Atlantic. And from what I've read over the last week, I don't see anything here that shows anybody on our side that did anything wrong other than shoot off texts and emails to the crews of the people that were involved in that text. We only have one person that didn't have any reason to have that text, and that's Mr. Jeffrey Goldberg. So it seems to me that he is the leaker along with the Atlantic. And I thought that's what this case was about, the leak. It doesn't appear that that's what we're going with here.
Well, think about this for a second, okay? Look, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And as we discussed yesterday, I have serious questions about why he didn't pull himself out of the chat, but he's a journalist on a story, so I get that. And yes, he is a purveyor of political hoaxes. He's been notorious for that, which is why the administration keeps calling him out. But for the people who are criticizing the Trump administration, they admitted fault. They're having an investigation. They said, we're going to learn from this. Under the Biden administration, nobody was held responsible for the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan that cost the lives of 13 U.S. service Congress members, never mind the women left in slavery under the Taliban, never mind the abandoned Americans and their allies. We don't even know the death count of Afghanistan yet. No one was held responsible after October 7th, after the Obama-Biden administrations had been funding Iran, which financed the attacks, and no one was held responsible when the Biden administration leaked Israel's plans to attack Iran to, wait for it, Iran. So if they want to talk to me about national security, they got to come at us with something else. Ron, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Seattle has to hire security guards to make sure public bathrooms are safe in their newly built waterfront. How long do you think that's going to last for? You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I love this story about the Seattle waterfront. I started laughing about this. Ready? I'm just going to read it from Como News, and I'm not picking on Como News because every single outlet reported it almost the exact same way. Seattle's waterfront park opens all new, all-gender public restrooms with full-time attendance. Okay. I have some questions here. Now, ladies, I may need some of you to call in, but this is just from my knowledge of not going into women's bathrooms, and this is from my knowledge of men's bathrooms from high end to low end. I've been to bathrooms with attendants. You have the guy standing there, which is really awkward that the guy spends the time in the bathroom, right? And they used to offer you a mint And I don't know where your hands have been. You're in a bathroom all day. I don't want your mint. Make sure that sucker's wrapped. That's a whole, also in the air in the bathroom, that better be a wrapped mint if I'm taking that from you. Mouthwash, towel, sir, any of that? Now, that has kind of disappeared. It's rare, but sometimes you go in a men's room and you find the wrapped mints or the mouthwash or the razor blades or any of that. But these days, I don't take any chances. The free mint just ain't worth it. I may be Jewish, but I'm not that Jewish, okay? I'm not going for that in this day and age, all right? We're going to leave that alone. So, anywho, it's rare you see that these days. So we're putting one at the waterfront? Is attendant code word for security guard? Is that what it actually is? We'll get into the gender thing. According to Como News, it's not every day you see a ribbon cutting for toilets. A large crowd gathered at the center of Waterfront Park between Union and University Streets to officially open the new public restroom. You know, I did some looking, by the way. And the last public restrooms they made a big deal about were those automatic wash-themselves toilets they put in Pioneer Square. Do you remember that? Now, young Ari Hoffman was getting married here in Seattle, and I was the first one of my friends to be getting married, and I was the ripe old age of 22. Yes, I was 22 when I got married. So we're getting married in Seattle. And I'd been to Seattle a couple times to visit with my wife's family and stuff, but my friends had never been here before, and they say, what's to do? And I said, let's go go-karting, and then we found out it would be a DUI if you go-kart drunk. Yes, it's a DUI if you go go-karting drunk. So we're like, all right, that's off the table. So my father-in-law says, go to Pioneer Square. There's bars in Pioneer Square. Great. We go to Pioneer Square, we go to bars, and I got to find a bathroom in a hurry. And that electric bathroom is right there for my taking. So I go to the electric bathroom, and it was the nastiest thing in the universe. And years later, when they were removing these things because they were such a huge waste of money and a colossal failure, I was kind of laughing because I remembered how nasty they were, and apparently that was when they first opened these suckers. They're disgusting. So they want to make sure these things don't do that. The 6 all-gender stalls come with something you don't typically see in a city park restroom, a bathroom attendant. Now, I'm looking at the attendant, and these do not look like the fellow with the bow tie we used to see in the bathrooms. That's not what these attendants look like. On this day, Una, one of the bathroom attendants, a.k.a. concierge. Concierge! You going to give me directions to tourist attractions? You going to give me a little map, perhaps? You going to call me a cab, take my bags? Guides park users in what and out of what some have described as a jewel box-looking structure. Yeah, it doesn't look like that. She's also available to act as a park guide for tourists and visitors with questions. That's lovely. The restrooms are designed to be welcoming, comfortable, and clean for families, users of all ages and abilities, according to the Seattle Office of Waterfront and Civic Projects. So our park experience team is really going to be leading all the work to make sure that we provide ongoing presence as the concierge in this space. All right, I have an objection. There's a girl in my bathroom? I don't want a girl attendant in my bathroom. I just want to be the dude in the bathroom. This all gender stuff kind of confuses me. Why couldn't you have, and I have no problem with this, by the way, why couldn't you have men's rooms, 2 of those, women's rooms, 2 of those, and 2 for however you identify? That's equality. That's equity. That's fair. This whole system is really, really weird. But what happens when a drug addict shows up? Do you think the concierge is going to deal with them? You think the concierge is going to handle that? They're going to have full-time concierges, and the city built the nearly $2 million structure. $2 million structure. $2 million for a toilet at the waterfront. They also have the safety team patrolling the entire waterfront. And then what happens? Do you guys like your waterfront bathroom? Do you like your waterfront? Does it look pretty? Well, if we don't get to raise your taxes in the legislature, if we don't get to raise your taxes in Seattle, all that's going away. The first thing that's going to be cut is the restroom attendants and then the public safety people. Why aren't you looking at Homeless Inc.? Why aren't you looking at that? Why aren't you looking at the arts department? Why aren't you looking at the tons of things we waste money on here that don't work, that we give frivolous grants to? Instead, it's always public safety. Why? Because they want to keep you in fear. That's the first thing they always want to cut. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Jason and Lacey. Jason, what's up, man?
Before I get into it, you said $2 million for 6 bathrooms. I know some undocumented workers that would have knocked that out for 20 grand. So
I know. You know, we could have done. How about this? You know, renting the porta potties would have been cheaper, by the way. And those are all gender restrooms too. Those don't discriminate. We could have gotten a bunch of those down there, right?
Yeah, and they want to keep them here, so let's give them some work, right? Well, anyway, so I digress. But no, I was calling because you know they're trying to push to get rid of NPR and well not get rid of but not fund them anymore, NPR and PBS, and I completely agree. However, if they're unsuccessful in getting these defunded, then I would make a suggestion to the Republicans that they start funding whatever it was what was the news agency that endorsed Trump? I don't remember what that was.
There's a bunch of them, but like let me help you out with this. So what the plan would be is that if they can't defund them, give it the same funding to Fox or Newsmax or Us or anything else like that.
Newsmax, yeah.
Okay, so here's the problem with that. I don't want to spend anybody's money, anybody's taxpayer money on this. I'd rather defund NPR. But here's option B. They should give the Democrats two options. Okay, guys, either defund NPR and PBS, or here's the Republican alternative. We're going to take their money and we're going to split it up between all mainstream media news agencies, including Fox and Newsmax and OAN and Daily Wire and Daily Caller and everybody else. Oh, we'll give it to MSNBC too. We'll give it to CNN also, but we're going to fund everybody equally and watch them lose their minds. Great idea, Jason. Absolutely love it. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Got this text from Don in Kent. He says, Ari, will we need to tip the loo attendant? If so, what is the recommended amount? Well, if you hand him a dime bag of heroin or something like that, I think that's okay in Seattle, right? Oh, wait, that's illegal. We shouldn't be encouraging that. Good question there, Don. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, Donald Trump has pulled the nomination of Elise Stefanik for UN ambassador because of the narrow majority in Congress. We'll give you the details on that and who I think should replace her as nominee. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I have mixed feelings about this story. So Trump has asked Elise Stefanik to withdraw from UN ambassador contention because there's such a thin majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, let's go back in time to when Donald Trump was announcing his nominees. I remember, Mike, when we broke the news that she was going to be one of the nominees, that I said at the time, that's an interesting move. I think she's amazing. I think she's incredible. I think she'll do a great job. But you have a very, very slim majority in the House. You sure you want to be doing this? I'm going to call this an unforced error by the Trump administration because you knew you had the slim majority going back to the beginning. And it's not fair to Elise Stefanik. It's not. You put her up for this great position, and now forever on her Wikipedia page and everywhere else, it was going to be nominated but had to be pulled because the Republicans didn't win as many elections as we wanted them to. However, the flip side of that, does the UN ambassador matter, really? How many of us know what the UN ambassador does? I know a lot of you know Nikki Haley was the UN ambassador. She did a phenomenal job, whether you like Nikki Haley, whether you hate Nikki Haley. She did a great job of pushing America First policies at the UN. She did an amazing job defending the U.S. and our allies at the UN. She gave it as good as she got at the UN. She really did a phenomenal job. But at the same time, who replaced her? Can any of you tell me who replaced her without Googling it? Anybody? No, you can't. You either stand out or you're just there. Now, I know Elise Stefanik would have stood out. I actually think, you know who Trump should nominate instead, and it would be the ultimate troll move? I think he should nominate Hillel Neuer. He's the guy from UN Watch. He's the guy who does all the analysis of all the corruption at the UN. I think it would be incredible if he nominated him to be the UN ambassador. I think that would be a ton of fun. I really, really do. Meanwhile, other fun out of Washington, D.C. is the announcement of tariffs on automobiles. Now, some people like this and some people hate this. What's fascinating to me is Jim Cramer over on CNBC is talking about how much he loves us. Jim Cramer's a lefty. Tariffs are a lefty policy. Why? Because they help create union jobs, because they bring jobs back to America, because the unions don't really like free trade that much, even though Democrats claim they like free trade. They really, really don't. So regarding this is about bringing jobs back to America. Now, we know that one of the first to announce that they were going to be moving production back to Atlanta are my friends over at Stellantis, who make Dodge, who make the Jeeps, who make the Rams, who make all the cars that I love, right? And don't forget, if you're in the market for a new car, go check out my friends over at Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram in Renton. They're my favorites. I get my car serviced there. They have great service specials. Even if you don't have a Dodge, they'll take care of you. I've been to their shop. It's great. But they were one of the first ones to announce, okay, we're coming back to America. Because don't forget, when Joe Biden announced all these electric cars, and all these subsidies for car makers to make electric cars and all these subsidies for people to buy electric cars, that Ford F-150 and other vehicles like it, the Lightning, the electric one that Joe Biden was pushing, they were going to be built in Mexico. We were shipping these cars out of country to be built, and Joe Biden was all excited like that. Ford was doing it, I believe, more than any other manufacturer. So you already have Stellantis, which makes my favorite brands. You already have Hyundai announcing the same thing. You have other companies talking about it's a way to get the manufacturing back here. In fact, I think Toyota right now may actually be the most American-built truck in the U.S. because they have all their manufacturing here. When you talk about tariffs, as we say all the time, are you using them to achieve a goal? If it is, we all want to be at the same tariff level, that's fine. Here's an example for you. You know, Israel, it's 100% tariff to get an American car into that country. 100% tariff. And I'm saying that as a supporter of America. I'm saying that as a supporter of Israel. That's insane. The used car market in Israel is where it's at because nobody wants to pay for that. Oh, and by the way, Israel, a place where they have astronomical gas prices, you would think they want more electric cars. That applies to Tesla also. It's crazy how much they charge for American cars. But when you go around, look at the rest of the world, the EU imposes a 10% tariff on passenger cars imported from the U.S. China applies a base tariff of 25% on American cars. India, 60% or more. Brazil, 35% tariff. South Korea, 8% tariff. Canada and Mexico, that's kind of complicated. But at the end of the day, if we're saying, look, we want everybody to bring it down, so it's actually even trade or free trade, fine, I get that. That's what the tariffs are doing. If you're just leaving there because you go, we're going to pay off the debt and we're going to cover our spending by doing tariffs, that's no different than taxing the companies in Seattle and hoping they won't move out of town. The fact that the tariffs are working and people are moving back in, That's huge. That's really, really huge. And I'm excited about that. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance, you want to see a great promo video? Go over to the vice president's account over on Twitter. J.D. Vance hung out with the Marines yesterday. It was amazing. That is the most American video I've ever seen. Listen, you saw it, Mike. Mike's getting all excited. He's grabbing the earphones right now.
Oh, yeah. No, I saw the photos. I saw the videos. Did you see the one where he's with the Marine and he's shooting down range?
Yes.
And the Marine working with him is just like, hit. Headshot.
Yes, headshot, center mass, headshot. Yep. Right, he took the shots, and guess what? He still got it.
Still got it.
Still got it. Well, I think he's still in the reserves, technically, right? So, yeah, I mean, you have to still have it. But anyway, it was so – here's the thing. It wasn't fake. It was real. It was authentic. Tim Walz hunting. Which way does this go? He looked like what's his face? Elmer Fudd. He looked like Elmer Fudd with the shotgun. How did I not think of that beforehand? That's literally what he looked like going out there in the field. J.D. Vance looks legit. And when he got up there, he's talking with the Marines. I should have had you clip this, Mike. I should have asked you for it. I should have had you ask when he goes out, "Hoo-ah, Marines," and they all go, "Hoo-ah." Oh, I should have had you clip that.
It was pretty powerful.
It was awesome.
Good stuff.
But what did he say while he was down there? This was great.
No more quotas, no more ridiculous mumbo jumbo, no more diversity trainings. We believe the real strength and the real diversity in the United States Marine Corps is that you all come from every walk of life, come from every corner of America, and you have got the strength and the purpose to win the nation's wars, and that is what the Marine Corps is going to do, just like it's done for damn near 250 years.
Hoo-ah, Marines. Hoorah. That was great. That was really fantastic. He wasn't done yet, though.
Under President Trump's leadership, we believe in a very simple principle. We don't care who you are, where you came from. We don't care what skin color you are. We care about excellence, and we care about patriotism. And if you are awesome and you are a patriotic young Marine, then we are going to do everything that we can to make you the most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen, and that is what we're doing every single day. No more quotas, no more ridiculous mumbo jumbo.
Exactly. I think he's awesome. I love J.D. Vance. I may disagree with him on a few foreign policies here or there, but you know what? It's okay for people to disagree. That's how you build a big tent. His authenticness, that's a man who's going to be president one day because he's real and he resonates with the common man, and the Democrats are petrified of him. By the way, you notice they're focusing on Pete Hegseth and they're focusing on Mike Waltz. During this whole little scandal, they kept Joe Kent in reserve. Wait till they get to J.D. Vance, because they're going to start talking about divisions in the Trump administration. J.D. Vance feels differently than Donald Trump. Mark my words. That's what they're going to do next. They're keeping it in the can.
Well, they've already tried that. They're like, "Oh man, J.D. Vance disagrees with Trump in the leaked text messages in the group chat."
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Like they're really trying to manufacture this, and I think Ari, you nailed this the other day already. The thing that we've seen in these group chats is that these people are real and authentic, and that's just how they talk to each other.
Exactly.
Like the stuff that I've read, I'm like, yep, I could totally see that. Like we just played these clips from J.D. Vance. When he speaks, I believe him.
Absolutely. I'll tell you something else, by the way. If you guys haven't seen Hillbilly Elegy, I did not like the book. I didn't like the book. I don't know how it got made into a movie. That's my personal thing. The movie, holy cow. That ripped my heart. I teared up. I will admit it on air. That movie made me emotional. Go watch it. That's what the left is absolutely petrified of. William Moore texted us. He said, Elmer Fudd was a better hunter than Tim Walz. Yeah, you're right. He just blew holes in walls, not himself. Whatever it was. Right? Oh, man. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friend. Rachel Zegler is the gift that keeps on giving and destroying Disney at the exact same time. We'll tell you about the latest insanity when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Before we get into the Disney nonsense, I just want to tell everybody about a special promotion we're doing right now. You've been hearing the commercials about our friend John Carlson, who's retiring after decades in radio. It's really a big loss for KVI and the radio industry. So we're having a big goodbye party next Friday, April 6th. Now, it's going to be out on... Sorry?
4th.
April 4th. Sorry, April 4th. I got my days all confused. Right.
Me too.
Sorry.
I was like, oh no, am
no,
I
no,
wrong?
that's my bad. That's my bad.
You, I'm not.
I got something else on the 6th.
Yeah, no,
I know what I think.
Friday, April 4th.
Friday, April 4th. Friday morning, April 4th. Okay, right. That's not the song. Right. Okay, so anyway, April 4th, we're having a goodbye party for John Carlson. But here's what we're going to do. We only have a certain number of VIP tickets. Now, don't take them unless you can actually go. It's in Kirkland at 6 o'clock. We're not giving the exact location because that's something you got to do if you actually get the tickets. If you think you can make it, please don't sign up for the tickets because then somebody else who can go won't take them. If you want tickets to John Carlson's VIP goodbye party, you want to be part of those VIP tickets, email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. Please, 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 I'm begging you. Don't do the thing where maybe I can go because there are tons of people who really want to go, and we only have a limited quantity of these. So if you want to go to John Carlson's goodbye party next Friday, April 4th at 6 p.m. in Kirkland, you'll get the address when you sign up. Email us, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com.
Yeah, it's going to be next Friday in Kirkland, 6 p.m. So that way you can plan accordingly.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you want to go, reach out to us and let us know, and we will see about getting you on the VIP list because spots are limited and they will go fast. So yeah, just want to make sure that the folks that actually want to go have the opportunity to go if you can go.
We got rid of those movie tickets for Warfare in what, like an afternoon or something?
With the quickness.
Exactly. So guys, this is a high-demand event. Remember, ari@kvi.com, ari@kvi.com. Meanwhile, saw this as Mike and I were at a movie last night. I saw this, I go, Mike, check this out. Mike, check this out. No, you don't have to get the headphones on. This is what happened last night while we were seeing The Working Man, which we'll have a review for you on Monday. What happened? The producer of Snow White's son, somebody was trying to get mad at him on social media, and his response was stellar. So apparently, Jonah Platt had written something, and somebody commented, "Your dad flew to New York City to reprimand a young actress." Any words on this? Because that's creepy as hell and uncalled for. People have the right to free speech. No, shame on your father. Jonah Platt wrote, "You really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie, for which she had signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged." Boom! He's 100% right. You remember those commercials, which they used to have when piracy was big before streaming got big, which was, all these people worked on this movie. Piracy is theft. You remember all that? This woman is literally stealing money from Disney through her stupid action. She is costing Disney money. And I know some of you are going, oh, Disney woke, went broke, whatever. At the same time, think how many people work for them. All those people. The people who do the CGI work, who you don't know their politics, whatever it is. She cost all of them money. She torpedoed this thing because of what she said. I mean, think about it this way. What if I got on air every day and I ripped the station while doing my show? Would you be listening? Of course not. Of course you wouldn't be doing that. When you have a job, you have a responsibility to your employer. I love working here, by the way. I would never do such a thing. But that's the responsibility you have as a mature adult. She's a child. She decided to hijack the conversation because of political nonsense, and she managed to alienate the majority of the country who are family-friendly and who voted for Donald Trump. On top of that, she managed to alienate anybody who supports Israel, too, by backing a bunch of terrorists to criticize her co-star, who's a very, very big star. Rachel Zegler probably destroyed her career in Hollywood with all this nonsense. Maybe she'll have a big Instagram following of leftists who appreciate this insanity. When we come back, my friends, your chance to be part of the golden age of America as we're giving away $2,025 plus a Daniel's Broiler gift card. Also, we'll be talking about how now the Washington State Legislature, both Democrats and Republicans, want people who are not citizens of the U.S. to be law enforcement officers and prosecutors. You want people who aren't citizens to enforce the law? We'll talk about that plus a whole lot more when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Senator John Braun will be joining us to discuss how the Democrats in the Washington legislature are restricting media access. But before we get to any of that, time for your chance to be part of the golden age of America. Yes, the golden age of America.
I can proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us.
That's right, my friends.
The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be.
It's the golden age. You know what we got to do, Mike? We got to get the president back on the show just so we can get him to say the golden age of America starts here on the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We have to ask him back just for that. We've got him saying, Ari, you're the best. I love you. You do a great job. You're a wonderful guy. You say the nicest things about me. We've got him saying that. We need to get him saying it's the golden age of America on KVI. I'll invite him on just for that. So it's time for KVI's Golden Age giveaway. Your chance to win $2,025 and a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. All you have to do. Now, people, we're still having trouble following directions here, okay? We can't make fun of the left and public schools and all that if you people can't follow the directions. I want you to win. I don't want you to invalidate your entries. So listen to me carefully. You just text the word I give you. Just the word. Not your address, not your phone number, not, hi, this is so-and-so from such and such a place, and here's the word. Just the word itself. Like Liam Neeson, we will find you if you are the winner. Plus, we have your phone number because you texted us, okay? So if you want to be part of the golden age of America, all you have to do is text the keyword HERO to 206-421-5757. That's HERO, HERO, or there's a hero to save us, I'm not gonna stand in the way. Yes, I know everybody wanted me to sing Nickelback. I know that's what everybody's looking for right now.
Please, that's a solo Chad Kroger. That's not even Nickelback proper. And now I don't have to play it because I was thinking, this is it, a hero to save us.
I'm not gonna stand. Right, him and Georgie Scott. That's right. Who's Georgie Scott anyway? I remember what the dude looks like. I don't even know what band he's from. You text the keyword HERO, HERO. Don't call us. Just text us, HERO, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Remember, you have until 5 o'clock to text the word HERO to 206-421-5757. Your next chance is coming up at 8 a.m., That's right, during the commute with Carlson. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. Also, some of you are messaging me through social media apps, just separating from the Golden Age of America. So that's the end of our Golden Age of America contest. Your chance to be part of the Golden Age.
I can proudly proclaim that the Golden Age of America is upon us.
Now,
well, and thank you, Ari. You do an incredible job and such an important voice. Thank you very much, Ari.
Good job, Mike. Very, very good. Excellent. Now, some of you are asking me about the tickets to John Carlson's goodbye party on my social media channels. That's fine. You may have missed where we said this before, so I'm going to clarify it for everybody one more time, okay? If you want to come to John Carlson's goodbye party after his 30 years on the radio next Friday, April 4th, at 6 p.m. in Kirkland. You get the real address once you email me. If you want to come, you email me, ari@kvi.com. But remember, do not email me if this is a maybe I can come. Lots of people want to go. We have a very small amount of people we can let in. Those of you who send me emails already and you're worried are you going to get a spot, you will get a spot. But those of you who are emailing me now, make sure you email me now because those reservations are coming in with the quickness. So email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. And hopefully you can get one of the limited spots we have to John Carlson's goodbye party. And I'm begging you, please, KVI Nation. All right? Please, Ari's Army and Big Mike Militia. If you're not sure if you can go, don't sign up for the tickets because there are people who know they can go. And I want them to be able to be there. All right? So that's next Friday, April 4th at 6 p.m. in Kirkland. We'll give you the full address. We'll give you all the details after that. Okay.
Well, and that's part of the reason why we're not doing it as say a contest. It's
Right.
like all's you got to do in order to win these fantastic. No, we're not doing that.
No.
This is more intimate. This is more special. Reach out to us if you want to go, and we'll see about getting you on the list.
But also, we want John's fans to be there, too. We want
Right.
the people who love John to be there. That's what we really want, the people who've listened to John for all the years, right? Look, I'm one of John's listeners. I listened to John for years before I got this gig. So that's what I'm telling you to do, guys, okay? You email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. I see the emails coming in right now. Those of you who have sent me emails right now as of 4:08, I will send it over to Mike. It looks like we got enough space for you. But if you want to make sure you're on that list, make sure you email me today because we know how quickly those tickets went to War Game and everything else. They will go quickly. So remember, email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. All right. Switching gears back to the politics of the day. Senate Bill 5068. This is a very, very complicated issue. And a lot of you are mad about it. A lot of you are spun up about it. I am actually going to be as nonpartisan, as unbiased as possible because this is a complicated issue. And I want your feedback on this. Because we have the contest going on, I want you to call me, not text me when we're discussing this, okay? Here's the issue. Senate Bill 5068 allows non-citizens to become police officers, prosecutors, firefighters, teachers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, a lot of people are very, very mad about this because it was unanimously approved by the legislatures in the Senate, including all Republicans. And people are going bonkers crazy about this. Now, let me break this down, and you can call me to disagree with me. And in fact, Senator Braun is going to be joining us at 4:30 today, and I'll have the phone lines open for text for questions. I'll have the text line open if you want to send him questions about this when we get to that. But here's the thing about this. If you tell me you want them to become secretaries or you want them to have other random jobs, by the way, I'm even okay with firefighters. I'm okay with medics. I'm okay with firefighters. There's that episode of Scrubs, the TV show Scrubs. I loved it, the doctor show. And by the way, when my friends who are doctors tell me it's the most accurate medical show, that freaks me out. That freaks me the hell out when they say that. They go, every hospital has a Dr. Cox. Every hospital has a JD. Every hospital has a Turk. You know, everyone has the Todd. They say every hospital has those characters. But the thing about it is, with regards to why we're bringing this up, is that they have this one med student who's along, and he came from Russia or Czechoslovakia or something, and he's always saying, I attached man's arm with needle and thread. You're teaching me to now I'm a janitor, right? I understand that. I understand people can come from other countries. They're not citizens yet. But for me, I would have drawn the line at law enforcement. I would have drawn the line at prosecutors. I would have drawn the line with legal enforcement. In fact, I draw the line with all police responsibilities, even if it's a receptionist, even as a secretary. Same thing goes with prosecutors. This is a me personally thing. I understand you want to help out people who legally want to come to this country. But my friends, you know what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to warp this bill where next session they go, and you know what? Let's open it up to illegal immigrants. It had unanimous support last time. That's the problem with this bill. So I understand wanting to give people green cards and let them work in the American dream until they get citizenship, which can take a while if they're doing it legally. I get that. I'm okay with them being firefighters. I'm okay with them having plenty of other jobs. I'm not okay with the law enforcement angle. However, let me spin this around for a second here. We do have if you serve in the military and you're not a citizen, you can get fast-tracked to citizenship. Would you be open to that for police, for prosecutors, for any of that? I still have questions, but I hear the argument. So it's Senate Bill 5068, and I want your feedback because I know some of you disagree with me. I know some of you want to get even deeper into this. You can give me a call at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let me know what you think about allowing non-citizens to be police, prosecutors, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's professions, of course, we want those people in. I draw the line at law enforcement because I know what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to open this up to be illegal immigrants next session because they're going to get away with whatever they want this session. And then it's going to be, you're going to have an illegal immigrant pulling me over for breaking the law. I'm just going to, you know what I'm going to start saying on body cameras? Excuse me, you a citizen? Oh, they're going to call that discrimination? Watch, I'll be reported to Fergie's hate crime hotline. That's what'll happen. Oh, wait, there's no cops around in Seattle anyway. I really have a problem with the law enforcement aspect of this. I really, really do. But you may disagree with me. Give me a call if you agree, disagree about Senate Bill 5068, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Switching gears to some other insanity in the Washington State Legislature. Washington State Representative Christine Reeves says that not letting boys compete against girls in women's sports is like going back to racial segregation. I kid you not. This is what she said this morning.
I'm feeling compelled, given the debate this morning, similar to your remarks, Madam Chair. I recall a time in our country's history, not that long ago, given that my grandmother just passed away, where people like my grandfather were told that they could not participate in sporting activities because he was a black man. I can recall a time in our country's history, Madam Chair, where people like my grandfather and my great-grandfather were not allowed to participate in processes and places in our society because of the color of their skin, because people for years, for generations, had told our society that black people were less than human, that black people were animals, that black people did not have the brain capacity to compete with white Americans. And as I'm listening to this debate, Madam Chair, it reminds me of a time in our country where people generated science to compel people to believe in the argument that my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, my great-grandparents were less than in our society. And Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, I would just say that the beauty of our society, the beauty of being human beings, and I hear that a lot from my colleagues across the aisle, that we should just all engage as if we are humans. So I'm going to compel us to remind each other that in the beauty of being human, we have the ability to evolve, we have the ability to grow, we have the ability to learn, Madam Chair, and I'm just feeling compelled this morning to remind us that we have evolved as a society, we have evolved as a community to recognize that black people are not less than, women are not less than, and that it is an opportunity in our society to remember that as we grow as humans, that we can include people, that we can bring people together in our communities to meet them where they are, to understand how they experience the world, and to bring them in rather than pushing them out. And I want to remind us that we are repeating history, Madam Speaker, in this debate, and it is very, very scary to me that we are making a lot of the same arguments today about this subset of our population that my grandfather, my grandmother, and my grandparents had to be subjected to for years, being told that they were less than, that they didn't deserve the same rights as other people because of the color of their skin. And I feel compelled this morning, Madam Speaker, to encourage us to vote no on this amendment, to stop repeating the disingenuous arguments that other humans in our society, rather than embracing inclusion and encouraging folks to evolve as the humans that we are, to be more inclusive.
So that is the left's insane argument for letting boys pulverize girls in women's sports, where a boy, not a trans anything, a boy spikes a volleyball so hard that a girl still has brain damage because of it. That's your argument? The racial one? Give me a break. Okay, give me a break. You talk about generating science. You want to talk about COVID about that? Here's something else. The beauty of being a human being. We have a blessing in Judaism. Shasani Kirtzano. Thank you, God, for making me like me. It seems like a lot of people want to be something else. They want to cosplay as something else. Spontaneously change sex? We don't have that. Do we have amphibious DNA? Is this like Jurassic Park? We can spontaneously change sex? Biologically, chromosomally? No, we can't. These are boys pretending to be girls. And these are boys with serious mental health issues that need to be addressed. We shouldn't shun them and we shouldn't ridicule them. We should address the mental health issue that's going on here. But right now, we should also address the fact that girls are getting pulverized, that girls are getting hurt, that girls are losing scholarships. And to compare it to racial segregation? Give me a break. Look, Jews were redlined in this country. There are other things that Jews were excluded from. You don't hear me asking for reparations. You don't hear me asking for, all of a sudden, oh, now boys should play in girls' sports because anti-Semitism? Is that really your argument? This is all the left has. And by the way, they shot down the amendment. That's right. Democrats had no problem with girls' sports being invaded by boys. This is an 80-20 issue. If you guys keep this up, you know what? You're going to lose the next election. You are going to lose the next election, and that's fine by me. Maybe not here in Washington, but in the other Washington, you're going to lose a lot more elections, my friend. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Ted in Gig Harbor. Ted, what's going on, man?
Ari, I'm a data-driven man. Couple of examples. The world record for the clean and jerk by a man, the heavyweight class, 586 pounds. That's nearly double the woman's record for that weight class.
Yep.
Sprinting, the 100 meters, men are pushing 2 seconds faster.
Yep.
Jumping, high jumping, they're going 8 feet. Women aren't going 8 feet. They're going 6 something. Everywhere you look, all these records. And this is why we have women's sports.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Here's something else. Here, let's change it a little bit differently, okay? Should LeBron James play basketball with my high schoolers?
Oh, there you go. When is the WNBA going to let a man play?
Right, exactly. As soon as the WNBA, as soon as the Seattle Storm have a man on their team, watch this. By the way, that's the end of it. If LeBron James wanted to get on everybody's good side, he'd just say, I identify as a woman. I'm going to go play in the NBA for my retirement. By the way, you want to have some fun?
Yeah.
Donald Trump should identify as the first woman president. What do you think that would do to the left? They would lose their minds. I think that Donald Trump should say, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I come out here, I'm Donald J. Trump. I'm not changing my name, but from now on, my pronouns are she and her. I am your first female president, and I'm going to be the best female president you've ever had. Sucks for you, Hillary. Sucks for you, Kamala. I mean, can you imagine if he did that? It would be amazing. I can imagine the press conference right now. You think the assassination attempt went viral? Oh, that would go even more viral. Ted, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Mike in Kirkland. Mike, what's up?
Ari, you're driving me crazy playing those kind of tapes.
Yes, that's the point, my friend. We do outrage. We do outrage on this show. That's what we do here.
You did it on purpose just to get us riled up.
Yes, we are your daily dose of adrenaline, my friend. That's what we do around here.
I got to take my blood pressure medication.
Believe me, I understand. How do you think I felt when I heard it? Yeah.
It's not a matter of prejudice, woman. It's a matter of difference. Vive la différence. There's men and there's women. And anybody who wants to be trans, they can do that, but they need to have their own category. You can't take a biological man and put him in a woman's sport.
Exactly. And you know what? I know what it's like to lose at a sport. Here, I'll give you an example. Oh, my God, this is the perfect example. So in Westchester, where I grew up, you go to tennis camp. You have to go to tennis camp if you grew up in Westchester, even if you don't like tennis. So what happens is they had a tournament for the whole camp, and I got entered in the tournament for the whole camp. And I'm playing against high schoolers, and I'm like 10. I'm like 11. What do you think happened to me? I got annihilated, absolutely destroyed. First of all, I wasn't very good at tennis. Can we just acknowledge that? I was like, ooh, I hit it over the fence, woohoo! That's not what you're supposed to do, right? I wasn't very good at tennis. But at the same time, these high schoolers are absolutely annihilating me. That's not a fair tournament. And I remember this tournament, I was going down and down and down and down and down. Little 10-year-old Ari Hoffman when I had hair on my head and not on my face. And I remember the last game, it was me against this poor little girl. And I remember that I'm playing this girl and I won on a drop shot that went like barely over the net just because I sucked. And I beat this poor girl. And I remember afterwards, woohoo, I'm not last. And then I felt horrible when I went up and shook her hand where she was dead last and I was second to last. And that was not a good feeling, my friend. Not a good feeling at all.
It makes me think of the Billie Jean King tournament.
Yes, yes. I saw that movie. I saw the Steve Carell, Emma Stone movie. I saw that. Mike, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Scott in Issaquah. Scott, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari. Well, I just want to put it like this. You wouldn't put, so like in boxing, you have weight classes. You wouldn't put a teeny little guy in the ring with Mike Tyson. I mean, and then tell Mike that he has to beat him up or else he's not, that's discrimination or something. What the heck is this? I mean, it has nothing to do with racism. I mean, bullies were racist. Bullies enslaved black people. Bullies beat up younger and smaller people in school. I mean, and that's what this is. I mean, if you want to compete, you can compete. Nobody's telling you can't compete. You just got to compete in your own weight class.
Yes. Yes, I completely agree. That's what we're saying. Look what happened to Mike Tyson when he went in against the guy a quarter of his age. Look what happened. We all watched that fight, right? The poor guy was just helping out Mike Tyson, right? We all get old also. These are things that they just aren't factoring in because of what? Equity? Equality? What word are they using today? Scott, great call. Appreciate the points. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, a lot of people blanked around, and now they're finding out. We're going to give you the details on people who are getting arrested for destroying Teslas and so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. That's a deep cut, Mike. Very good. Very, very good. For our blank around and find out segment, very good,
Yeah,
Mike.
I mean, I had to go to the thesaurus for this one, but, we're talking about fool around and find out, and I figured seek and destroy is probably the closest thing I could come up with, at least in my musical lexicon. However, if the Big Mike Militia, I'm talking to the Big Mike Militia here, if you could think of a musical accompaniment to a segment where we talk about fool around and find out, send me an email, mike@kvi.com.
Yes, we are looking for music to make a new intro for the F around and find out segment. We'll call it Fool Around. That's more family friendly. I like that. Fool around and find out segment. So, speaking of seek and destroy, seems like the Trump administration is its own self-guided missile, a heat seeker missile, destroying gang members, getting them out of the country. So yesterday, I don't know if you saw this. This was great. Kristi Noem, right? So she heads down to the El Salvadoran prison and does a video like the public safety announcements you've been hearing on KVI. Do not come here. We will deport you. You will get jailed. You will not get your chance of the American dream. And in the background are all the alleged gang members with the tattoos, and they're all shirtless with shaved heads and no pants. Oh, no, they do have pants. They got white pants, and they're all in the background looking absolutely miserable, and she's using them as a backdrop. Yeah, they found out all right. Meanwhile, this one here, according to Fox News, the top leader of the violent MS-13 gang for the East Coast in the U.S. has been arrested by authorities, the 24-year-old suspect. Man, 24, I was having my second kid by then, who has not yet been named, was taken into custody in Woodbridge, Virginia, just south of Washington, D.C. He is reportedly one of the top 3 leaders of the gang in the country. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who watched the arrest from a nearby tactical operations center, told the outlet they executed a clean, safe operation, and the bad guy's in custody. Thanks to the FBI, we got one of the worst of the MS-13 gang off the streets this morning. Virginia and the country is a lot safer today. Bondi also wrote on X following the arrest, I'm proud to announce that early this morning, our brave law enforcement officers conducted a successful operation that captured a top MS-13 gang leader. DOJ, Department of Justice, will not rest until we make America safe again. In a press conference, Bondi said that the suspect was an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. On the increase in arrests seen under the new administration, Bondi said we didn't need new laws, as President Trump always says. We just needed a new president. Exactly right. In another category, a man has been arrested for allegedly lighting fire to all those Teslas in Las Vegas. A man has now been arrested for the targeted attack, according to 8 News Now. The outlet reported that the police arrested Paul Kim, 36, who was arrested on Wednesday. He was charged with arson, as well as possessing an explosive device. Police said that Molotov cocktails were used in order to set fire to several Teslas at the center in Las Vegas on March 18th, early in the morning. During a news conference last week, Las Vegas PD Sheriff Dory Karen said he used what appeared to be multiple Molotov cocktails and firearms to conduct his attack. So, yeah, that guy's going to be now hit with terrorism charges. Nice. So, we also have a suspect who has been identified by our friend Jonathan Cho of local Tesla vandalism. Now, as soon as the arrest report comes out, I'm not sure if they've been arrested yet. We're going to air all that information on the show, too. But basically, that's why we're calling this the Fool Around and Find Out segment, because a lot of people did something stupid they could get away with under previous administrations. They can't get away with it, under this one. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, my man?
That 15 Sound Transit board members bowed down to Dow, and he is now the CEO of Sound Transit. And I've got some news to share with you if you got time.
Yeah, wait a second. They had the vote already? I thought the vote was tonight.
Vote just happened.
The vote just happened. So they basically, who are the 3 that didn't vote for him?
They weren't there, and I forget their names. I think Bruce Harrell didn't show up.
Yeah, well, Bruce Harrell didn't show up. That's his entire time in office. Bruce Harrell didn't show up again. Okay, that doesn't surprise me. Mike, can you do me a favor? Can you look this up, because it's probably breaking news right now, and see who are the 3 who didn't show up? Because I'm very, very curious about who they are. Thank you. If you can find that, appreciate it. What else you got for us, Joe?
I'm going to share with KBI my secret reason for backing Dow Constantine.
Well, it's not going to be secret anymore.
Or have leaked to Sound Transit staff to tell the board. But
okay.
There's been a lot of discussion about electing the Sound Transit board, a dream I've had since 2016. So, and there's a lot of progressives who just literally are like, what's going on here? And granted, I disagree with them, but as I like telling people, and I like using this union phrase, we need to call the question here, get an initiative, and let's have a vote about it and be done with it. Because if we like having the King County executive appoint the majority of board members, then let's have the vote on it. And if we think South Transit's matured to the level of BART or even TransLink up in British Columbia, then let's call the question, man.
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, we already had the vote when we established Sound Transit, and the problem is most people didn't realize this was buried in it. To have an unelected, unaccountable board on Sound Transit, which now we know is filled with crony capitalism because the people that were appointed by Dow Constantine just appointed him to a $675,000 a year position.
$425,000.
Oh, please, with all the benefits, Joe, I don't know what math you're checking. It's $6, and even at $425, that is more than double what the governor gets. You think that's appropriate? Oh, that's $100,000.
Yes.
That's $100,000 more than New York Transit gets, than the MTA Transit gets. And Joe, tell me, what has been Dow Constantine's major success as King County executive?
His major successes, including keeping transit.
No. I said as King County executive.
He's run and expanded King County Metro.
No. I said as King County executive, not in transit. As King County executive, because what you're going to know, and you know this, which is why you're having trouble coming up with it, crime has gotten worse. Homelessness has gotten worse. Drugs have gotten worse. Housing, more regulations, which has led to it being less affordable and raising taxes. Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, news from the Washington State Legislature, my friends, how they're trying to ban journalists and so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Remember, my friends, you have just over 20 minutes to text the keyword that I gave you at 4 o'clock to 206-421-5757 to be part of America's Golden Age. The Golden Age of America, my friends, right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Our friend Travis Couture had a good point the other day when he was talking about education here in Washington, especially where you have the Parental Bill of Rights, which is being gutted by Democrats. Give a listen to what he said. Yeah, he's 100% right. He's 100% right in what he said. But we know the Democrats are trying their very, very best to destroy our beautiful state. And joining us now on the KVI studio line, Republican leader for the Washington Senate, Senator John Braun. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Such a pleasure. Now, it seems like they're not just intent on destroying our state, but it seems like they also don't want us knowing anything about it. Your office was very nice to tell me you were working on getting me press credentials yesterday, and I didn't really know what was going on because I hadn't been following the story. I was flattered, I was honored, and then I realized what was happening. Tell us what happened yesterday in the Senate for our audience.
Well, this is a culmination of some challenges we've had for the whole session. The folks who provide press credentials were restricting access to only what they deemed the traditional media. And of course, in 2025, we have a wide range of media out there, but they were withholding press credentials from folks like you. Brandy Cruz is an example. Center Square was pushed back on for a while, and it even wound up in some potential litigation, so that the organization that was allowing credentials just walked away and said, "Hey, we're not going to do this anymore." At which point we had to make some sort of decision at the Senate level. We were able to negotiate with the majority and widen the definition of press so that folks like yourself and others wouldn't be challenged, and you could get a press pass. But then, a different issue came up where they didn't want to allow the press into the wings, which has historically happened. We thought that was a foolish idea, but ultimately they negotiated to the point where each side could just invite their own folks in. So that was approved yesterday on the floor of the Senate, and I immediately sent letters to the Secretary of Senate inviting all the press in to the Republican wings. We welcome transparency. We welcome interaction with the media and all types of media. I mean, in today's day and age, you have to communicate through a number of different forms if you're going to be successful in reaching citizens. And I think it's really important that citizens know what's happening in Olympia.
Now, you and I have gotten to become friendly over the years I've had this radio show. Been about 4 years, not like John Carlson's 30 years, but the 4 years I've been doing this, we've gotten friendly. But at the same time, we've had you on the show when we disagree with you. I got some questions today if we have enough time on things I disagree with you on, and you never have any problem answering it. But the people on the other side of the aisle seem like they're afraid of the questions themselves.
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way, and you're absolutely right. Our job here isn't, it's impossible really to agree with everybody all the time. Our job is to try to represent our districts the best way we can and have reasonable, backup for why we decide what we decide, and most importantly, be willing to share that and defend it and be wrong sometimes. That happens, and we should. But people don't know that if you're not open about it and transparent.
Exactly right. But we can also discuss them. Like, for example,
That's right.
Representative Lauren Davis. Her and I disagree on a ton of issues, and there's one issue we agree on. There has been one single issue we agree on, and I invited her on the show to talk about it, and she came on the show, to her credit, to talk about it. Adam Smith and I disagree on a ton of stuff, and he always accepts my invitation. But the majority of Democrats just won't come on the show. So here, in the spirit of that for a minute, I know you're not prepared to discuss this, not trying to surprise you with this, this, but I just did a whole segment on Senate Bill 5068, which is allowing non-citizens to have law enforcement jobs. Me personally, I see this as a little bit more nuanced. I want people who are coming here legally and doing the right thing to be able to have jobs and be able to work as they're trying to become citizens. I just worry about the Democrats coming along next session, as we see them doing with the Parental Bill of Rights, and mutating it into something else. Was that discussed at all, of them taking this thing and saying now illegal immigrants can be police officers?
Yeah, we did discuss that some, but in the end, I don't think it's really hard to make thoughtful decisions about policy based on what might happen. I think you got to look and say, based on the facts we know today, what's the right policy? And as I thought about that bill, I thought, hey, these are folks who put in the effort to follow the law, come here legally, go through all the processes. That's not an easy deal, and they did it right. And if folks do it right, it seems to me we know we need law enforcement. We know we need firefighters. And if the fact that they took the time to follow the law makes them, in many cases, in my opinion, very good candidates. The other thing I thought about, I have, you probably don't know this, but I have my son-in-law was here. His parents immigrated from the UK, so he wasn't a citizen, and he joined the Marine Corps as a non-citizen. Served 5 years in the Marine Corps as an enlisted man, then went to the Naval Academy. He's now an officer and achieved his citizenship that way. So if we allow legal residents to enlist and serve in the military, why wouldn't we be open to having them serve in other key public service positions? That's how I thought about it. I think there's different perspectives, but that's how I got to my conclusion.
Right. See, I think that's a nuanced look at this whole thing, which really is, and most people are forgetting the military aspect of it. I see both sides, but you came on the show to talk about it. You have no problem answering the tough questions, even when we disagree with things. It's a real shame that we're going through this where the media has turned over their ability to hold government accountable to the government, which is beyond insane.
Yeah, I think this is what you get. 40 years of essentially one-party rule, they become very, very sensitive to being challenged, to the possibility that they might be wrong. And I think that's harmful. You don't get thoughtful approach. You don't get an openness. When you're afraid to share your reasoning with those with the public. It seems to me there's a high risk you're going to get it wrong and either never know you got it wrong or at least never admit you got it wrong and take action to correct it.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. That's not the end of the world. What's bad is when you don't recognize it and do something about it.
I completely agree. Senate Republican leader John Braun, thank you as always for always being available to have the conversation with us no matter what the topic is. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate your time today, sir.
All right. Thanks for having me on. You have a great day.
Always a pleasure. You as well. When we come back, my friends, great event is coming to Seattle this weekend. We're going to tell you all about the thrills and excitement of motorcycles. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. One of the drivers, one of the riders joins us next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, we have discussed many, many times how Mike and I are fans of the extreme sports. We have coming up the Monster Energy AMA Supercross. Tickets are on sale now for the Seattle races, which are coming up on March 29th. That is this weekend, my friends. Saturday, March 29th. FanFest is going to be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The gates also open at 10 a.m. And then the racing starts at 5 p.m. Joining me now to discuss in studio is one of the racers themselves, Braden Spangle from Spokane, Washington. Thanks for being here, man.
Yep. Thank you.
So tell me, why'd you get into this? Is this a family thing, or is this something that you just said, I want to do this on my own?
Basically started out as a family thing. The dad brought me into it, and we rode together, and here we are now, racing Supercross.
So you might say you're in the family business.
Yeah, you could say that.
Are you an only child, or you have siblings?
I have one brother and one sister.
One brother, one sister. And do either of them do this also?
Yeah, my little brother races as well.
So he wants to be like you one day?
Yeah, he does.
Okay. So you do all the racing. This is what your full-time gig, or you got something else you do aside from this?
I do this about 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The other 10%, I'm back home in Spokane doing some excavation for my dad.
That's awesome. So multiple family businesses you guys got going on.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How'd you get into this aside from just racing with your father? Is this something that you said, because some kids, my kids do not want to be in radio, for example. They look at this and they go, all right, Dad, you have fun with your microphone and do that. But, they want to, I got one son who wants to be a doctor. Why'd you want to follow in your father's footsteps?
We're pretty hard-headed. I like to be good at everything I do. So as soon as I started riding dirt bikes, I got into the racing aspect of it. And then I leveled up and went to pro motocross, and from there went to Supercross, and that's kind of like the last step, really, to this journey.
So if there are kids out there who are listening to this interview right now, and they go, I want to do this one day. I've seen it at Lumen Field. I've seen it at all these different stadiums. I've seen it. I watch it on TV. Is this something, what advice would you give them?
I would say if I can do it, anyone can do it for sure. Basically, put your head down and work, man. I mean, the more you put in, the more you get out, and it seems pretty basic to say, but it's the truth.
That's good advice from a guy who has a career Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship, Futures Top 10, and 3 career Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championships, Future Top 20s. So, when you won those things, is it like bragging rights over your friends also, or are you guys all like a team together because you all go to all these tournaments together?
I mean, you don't want any enemies out there, that's for sure.
So you don't want anybody kicking you while you're going by kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. So we're all pretty humble, pretty good friends. I like to keep it that way.
You all tour together, though, right? You're all at the same races and all on the same tracks for the most part?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Gotcha. So there's nobody out there who wants to be the bad guy because then everybody's gunning for the bad guy?
There's some guys out there, but not me.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So tell us some other things you're looking forward to being back here in Seattle, being back in the Washington.
Man, I've been on the road for so long. It's just going to be nice seeing all the local faces, all the local fans and all the people Seattle brings out.
Awesome. That's great. You a fan of any of the sports teams around here, or were you a fan of different teams because of upbringing and such? Because my kids are Mets fans, because I'm from New York originally. Yeah. But you a Seahawks fan? You a Mariners fan?
Yeah, I kind of have to be a Seahawks fan, Washington guy.
Gotcha. You follow any other sports aside from this?
I have not followed any of them in a while.
Focused on this, seeing what's going on, keeping your eye on the ball. Yeah. I gotcha. Well, don't forget, my friends, you come out to Monster Energy's AMA Supercross 2025, the world's best two-wheel racers converge, on Lumen Field for the annual race on this Saturday, March 29th. Gates open at 10 a.m. FanFest also opens at 10 a.m., and it goes until 4 p.m. The opening ceremonies are at 4:30 p.m. Racing starts at 5 p.m., and that's all over at Lumen Field. Tickets for FanFest passes will be available for purchase online at Ticketmaster.com or in person at the box office. Do you have any socials that you want people to follow you at so they can see the amazing stuff you do on that bike?
Yeah, Braden Spangle on Facebook, Braden Spangle _113 on Instagram, and YouTube, Braden Spangle, all the socials.
Awesome. Braden Spangle, thank you so much for joining us today. We're all pulling for you, especially because you're a local boy, so thanks so much for being in the studio with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And make sure everybody checks out FanFest and, of course, the racing itself this weekend at Lumen Field for Monster Energy AMA Supercross. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. You want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Plus, we're going to tell you how you can snag a couple of VIP tickets to John Carlson's goodbye party. But before we get to any of that, my friends, I have a question. Did you have a storm near your house last night? Because I kind of want to make fun of the Seattle weather people. Now, we were in a movie. We were watching a movie last night. We're going to have our review for The Working Man. Oh, sorry, A Working Man. We are going to have our review of Jason Statham's latest, A Working Man, on Monday during The Real Deal. When we're in the theater, all of a sudden, the projector stopped working for a second. Gave him a couple minutes, had time to go to the bathroom. Boom, up and running again, no problem. So I assumed the weather was pretty bad. When I got out, I heard there was some thunder, there was some lightning, but the worst thing that happened was a chair flipped over in my backyard. We will rebuild, my friends. We will rebuild. Was it really, really bad and we missed it? I mean, I know there was a lot of rain for some point, but it seems like the media, they were basically telling me that a giant twister, like in The Wizard of Oz, was going to come tearing through downtown Seattle. It's going to kill us all. If you believe the mainstream media, that's what it sounded like from the weather forecast. Now, I understand it was worse in some other parts of Washington, but it didn't seem like it was that bad here. If it was bad in your neighborhood, give us a call and let us know what we missed at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, I love watching NPR get roasted. I just absolutely love it. There is no reason that National Public Radio, which is just a huge shill for the left in Washington and the United States, that's all it is. Why should they be getting over $500 million a year? Why? Between them and PBS, why should they be getting it? And nobody else gets it. I don't think any of them should get it. We don't get government money. So why are they getting it? In fact, we had NPR CEO in the hot seat, Catherine Meyer, as Jim Jordan was roasting her. Give a listen.
Former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time to
Peabody Award? That's pretty important, isn't it?
That is, absolutely.
So pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr. Berlin.
Hang on a second. Did you hear the laughter in the background? Did you hear that? How everybody's laughing about that because everybody knows NPR is biased? Oh, that was delicious. What they're talking about is an article written by a guy named Berliner. We covered this last April. What he was writing about was after 25 years at NPR, how biased it had gotten. So these are the questions Jim Jordan is asking based on that article.
In his story last year wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
concerning. Award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story And one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the COVID origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, we became fervent members of the team Natural Origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists. Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Sorry, is there a question there?
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization.
Yeah, nobody believes that. Nobody. Even the left doesn't believe that. Why do they listen to NPR? Because it's their viewpoint. Nobody believes this nonsense. Representative Brandon Gill. Oh, he pulled out the receipts when he was questioning her.
Generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
So I made this point yesterday when we played parts of this clip. My guess is she was paid to shill that book, or they were an advertiser, or they were promoting it. And of course she never read it. She was asked, hey, can you put up a plug for my book? And that's what she did, which is why she doesn't remember, because she probably does it all the time. I don't think she was lying, by the way. I think she doesn't remember because she was lying when she plugged the book. Either she was lying when she plugged the book that I took an entire day off, or she's lying now saying she doesn't remember reading the book.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone to pay reparations.
Seems to be what you're suggesting.
That one's my favorite, by the way. We talk about this with the sports stadiums. So the Kraken do this all the time. We like to recognize we are on the traditional land of the Coast Salish people. Well, if you feel that way, give your stadium and your hockey team to the Coast Salish people. Let them, you feel, hey, do we know any Coast Salish people? Are there any Coast Salish? Are they still around? Are they still a tribe? I don't know which tribes are which. I'm not saying that to be mean, but if you mean it, then give it to them. Oh, you want the U.S. to pay reparations, but you don't want to pay them. I see. I understand what's going on here. They're called taxes, lady. They're going to come out of your salary one way or the other.
Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe it's morally wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being
You tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book, but
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
Do you think that...
See, that's what I think. That's what gave it away. 2 books in a row. Either she's lying about both of them, or these are things she was paid or asked to promote. My belief is she was paid or asked to promote. It's like, hey, can you tweet this out so the NPR crowd sees it? Oh, by the way, this got so much more entertaining. This is one of my favorite hearings I think I've ever seen on Capitol Hill since the hearings on steroids and baseball.
A few years ago, NPR educated America about, quote, the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of tax dollars?
I was not at NPR at the time, sir.
That's not the question, though. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I think our tax dollars that we use are to be able to provide a wide range of perspectives.
I'll take that as a yes. You do believe that that's appropriate.
What's a genderqueer dinosaur enthusiast? I don't even know what that means. I went to college. I have no idea what that means. Does that mean the dinosaur is genderqueer? Or does that mean the person who enjoys the dinosaur is genderqueer? Or is everybody just genderqueer? We just haven't figured it out yet. I'm very confused here.
Your health advisor at NPR also stated in an interview that, quote, fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat. Would you like to explain how fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat? That's an editorial at NPR.
I am not familiar with the editorial, and I don't believe that was published during my time here.
It's called Diet Culture is Everywhere. Here's how to fight it. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I think any reporting on health is an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars, yes.
And you think that editorializing that fat is not unhealthy is appropriate?
I don't know what that article is, sir, and I'm not familiar with it, so I couldn't
This
say.
is fake news. Do you think that basic accommodations like doorways or seat belts represent, quote, latent fat phobia?
I don't have an opinion.
It's also from NPR. Do you think civility is racist?
No, sir.
No. Your outlet ran an article entitled, quote, When Civility is Used as a Cudgel Against People of Color. That was on All Things Considered. Would you like to explain?
I'm not on the editorial side, sir. I'm not familiar with that story.
You talk about how NPR is news. This is editorialization, and I'll read it. For many people of color in the United States, civility isn't so much social lubricant as it is a vehicle for containing them, preventing social mobility, and preserving the status quo. This is garbage. I'll spend all of my time doing everything I can to ensure you guys never get another dollar of taxpayer funding. This is complete garbage. Thank you,
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. Why are we funding NPR? Why are we funding PBS? Do you know the millions, the hundreds of millions of dollars that the Children's Television Workshop has made? Did you know, by the way, they're a nonprofit too? They're a nonprofit. Do you know how much money you guys could have made selling ads, which you did, selling ads to Sesame Street, selling ads to Mr. Rogers, selling ads to Julia Childs, selling ads to the people who talk about the sweaty meatballs, right? Do you guys realize how much money they made in ads, and on top of that, they're getting government funding? It's insane. I don't think any news outlet can get government funding because then they're going to take the government's side because they don't want to upset their sugar daddy. That's why they shouldn't be getting it. And then you can't hold the media, you can't hold the government accountable. You can't call yourself an honest journalist when you're shilling their side. With us, we do a lot of opinion stuff around here. That's what we do, but we make it very clear what's opinion and what's news on this show. We say when we quote something from an outlet, we say when it's opinion. We're very clear about that. Look, you know what I would have no problem with? If NPR said, we're a leftist organization, we're promoting the left, and we shouldn't get government funding. Any more than Fox should get it for being on the right. Any more than Newsmax should get it for being on the right. Look, I don't fault MSNBC for being MSNBC. We make fun of them. We have a lot of fun at their expense. We have a lot of fun at CNN's expense. I just wish the two of them would be honest about the lens they're looking at everything through. Everybody always knows what your slant is anyway, but in this day and age, with the market being what it is, you want to find who agrees with your slant. I joke all the time. People don't necessarily want to hear my opinion. They want to hear their opinion coming out of my mouth. I joke about that all the time. Tell me what you think, by the way, guys. Do you think we should be funding NPR and PBS? 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Do you think we should be funding any media outlets? Now, here's something fascinating and a story you probably haven't heard about. The fact that they are banning reporters from a lot of areas of the Capitol here in Olympia because they don't want to be held accountable. And you know what? I haven't seen any articles about that in the Seattle Times, Como News, Cairo, King 5, nothing, because the media doesn't care. Because the ones that are covering this stuff are the independent journalists like myself, like Brandy Cruz, like Jonathan Cho, like the Center Square, like the Linwood Times. These are the people who are covering this stuff, and they don't care because they don't consider us media. They look down their noses at us and go, independent media, They look down their noses at us. Meanwhile, half the time, the stories they get come from us. You know how many stories I've tipped off the mainstream media to on a regular basis because I want them to get covered? And they can't be everywhere, and these newsrooms are so defunded. But, you know, they all have these Murrow interns that are paid for by the state of Washington, and now they're getting money from the state of Washington. You think they're going to be honest in their reporting? The Seattle Times gets over $100,000 from Washington State. What's the incentive for them to be honest in their reporting when their sugar daddy is the government they are supposed to be covering? Here was Washington State Senator Lisa Wellman as she was voting to restrict press access in Olympia. Listen to her insane logic.
Out of due respect for the people who earned the right to call themselves the press and sit in that corner of the room, there are qualifications, and I think that we should adhere to them to preserve the very thing that that good senator was talking about, to preserve the publication of truth, verified facts, Mr. President. And so I support this resolution. Thank you.
Really? Go sit in the corner, media. You have to earn your stripes as a journalist. Really? Seattle Times, who are shills for Bob Ferguson, who never questioned him on any part of his record, would you consider them journalists? Would you consider NPR journalists when they lied about 3 of the biggest stories in the last 5 years? How about King 5 that takes the leftist mantra on everything around here? How many stories have been blown by our own local media? How many things have we caught the Seattle Times spinning before? How do you define media, Senator? How do you define it? No, you just don't want to be questioned. That's why you're restricting access, because you don't want to be questioned. And that's a First Amendment issue. Do you think that any local outlet should be getting government funding? 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Absolutely insane. Absolutely crazy. But this is where we're at. And the media has only itself to blame. Us and independent media, you know, we're trying our very, very best to cover all this kind of stuff. But the lamestream media, they just lost access and they probably didn't even know. Because how many of them actually have reporters down in Olympia actually covering any of this stuff? They gave away their own First Amendment rights. They did it, and they gave it to the government that they're supposed to be the watchdogs for. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, it's official. Sound Transit has a new CEO. That's right, the fix was in. Crony capitalism at its absolute worst. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Don't forget, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 gift card, plus so much more. Yet another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Well, it's official, my friends. The Sound Transit Board, which was appointed by Dow Constantine, most of them, have now named failed King County Executive Dow Constantine to the position of the CEO of Sound Transit. Now, our friend Transit Joe, who called earlier, said that the salary is less than we thought it was originally, and the Seattle Times is now saying that it's only $450,000 a year rather than $675,000. My assumption is that may be backlash-oriented. Or they may be saying, we saw the backlash, so we're not going to tell you about the additional perks that take it up higher. That is still more than double what the governor gets. That is still double what the mayor of Seattle gets. That is still $100,000 more than the CEO of New York City's MTA, which is their transit authority. That is still $100,000 more than the guy who runs the D.C. Transit Authority. That's over $100,000 more than the guy who runs the Chicago Transit Authority gets paid. For our little nothing of transit here in Seattle, here in Western Washington, that little nothing of transit, this is insane. Absolutely insane. We read their equity statement yesterday, which is basically saying, well, it's equity. It's equitable. If all you people who don't take the train pay for the train, because choo-choo, baby. That's basically what they're saying. So, yes, the fix is in. He appointed a whole bunch of people to that board, and I got to say, I am beyond disappointed in some of these politicians that wouldn't even come on the show to discuss it. They wouldn't even come on the show to discuss it, and they've been on the show many, many times. Oh, they're going to be hearing from me about it. They're going to be hearing from me about it because this is beyond insane. Can you tell me why Dow Constantine was uniquely qualified as the board of Sound Transit? He was nothing but a colossal disaster. It has always run over budget and behind schedule in every single program. How many times have they ripped up the tracks over I-90, delaying that project, 1, 2 years? How many times? Because you guys can't get the math right, or you can't. By the way, why haven't you fired these contractors already? How many screw-ups have there been at this point? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So the guy who sucks at transit and the guy who sucks at running King County, you guys just gave him $450,000 a year for this thing? Yeah, you know what he's just going to do? They're going to keep taxing us. There is no accountability in Sound Transit. You know what I'm going to do, Mike? I'm not going to do the usual thing that I do. I'm actually going to sit back and watch the left have a meltdown over this. Because the left and the right both hate Dow Constantine for very different reasons. But I want to see the leftist absolutely explode from all this. Meanwhile, speaking of exploding, you remember what Jasmine Crockett said about Governor Greg Abbott of Texas the other day?
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes.
She said that at an equity conference. And everybody's cheering because she's making fun of a guy who's disabled. By the way, got it wrong the other day. He didn't get disabled in a car accident. A tree fell on him. No joke. While he was jogging, a tree fell on him, an oak tree, and paralyzed him. And she thinks that's funny. She makes fun of him. If a Republican had said that, what would have happened? But Abbott's actually a class act. He was on Sean Hannity the other night. Here was his response.
You had an accident at 26, and you were jogging, and you had a very severe injury, and yes, you are in a wheelchair. And I've gotten to know you. You're a personal friend of mine. I take it personally when friends of mine are attacked viciously for no reason, and there's no way in hell that this woman and her ex-post is going to convince me she meant anything other than what we all believe it to be. Your reaction?
Well, Sean, is another day and another disaster by the Democrats. The reality is they have no vision, no policy. They have nothing to sell but hate, and Americans are not buying it. It's one reason why Texas is going to remain red and why Republicans are going to continue to win elections across the country. The fact, Sean, is that Texas is actually in direct contrast to what she was talking about. Texas has ranked number one for the most new jobs in America over the past month, number one for the most new jobs over the past year, and for several years. Texas ranks number one for the most new economic development projects for 13 years in a row. CEOs who run businesses have ranked Texas the best state for doing business for 20 years in a row. And Texas is in the vanguard as it concerns the future of the United States, such as space exploration, such as artificial intelligence, such as semiconductors, as well as power generation. The bottom line is that Republican states like Texas are leading the way, and with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
He's 100% right. We're going to beat them at the ballot box. That is the best revenge. Beat them at the ballot box. She can say whatever dumb ideas she wants to say, but they're not actually ideas. She's just insulting people. Give me some actual ideas. What do we say about debating? I was on Newsmax last week. I was having a debate on Newsmax last week. They actually asked me on Sunday morning at 5:30 in the morning to debate some Democrat. And I'm on at 5:30 in the morning, and Mike knows me. And those of you who listen when I fill in for John know that I am most definitely not a morning person. Definitely not. So I'm already in a foul mood that I mean, look, I love being invited on Newsmax and Fox and all that other kind of stuff. But 5:30 in the morning, it's fine. So I'm on there, and all this guy could do was insult me. He kept calling me dumb. Mike, you've known me about 4 years now, right? Is dumb the word you would use to describe me? Even leftists don't call me dumb. The insult they pull out, which hurts, is when they call me bald. Because I can't do anything about that. And that hurts, because I used to be the guy known for his glorious locks. This beautiful mane of hair, which is now receding from my face, which you can watch over on our live stream at Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and, of course, over on X. He kept calling me dumb. And I said to him point blank, because I was in no mood for this first thing in the morning, I said, you know, it's amazing because you know you lost an argument when you call somebody names and you don't have any alternative plan. Jasmine Crockett is just trying to be the next AOC. AOC's graduated to mom jeans, so she's not the fresh young thing anymore. Now Jasmine Crockett wants to be that. She wants to be AOC. She doesn't want to make laws. She doesn't want to make policies. She just wants to insult Republicans and grow her social media following. That's all she really wants. You want to beat them? You beat them at the ballot box. You beat them in the world of ideas. That's how you beat these guys. When we come back, can somebody who identifies as a more common sense Democrat beat Bruce Harrell as mayor of Seattle? Rachel Savage, new candidate for mayor of Seattle, will be joining us next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Remember, if you missed any part of the show, you can always get the podcast at Google, Apple, Spotify. Oh, wait a second. Google doesn't have podcasts anymore. You can't get it there anymore. Apple, Spotify, whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Remember, while you're there, to rate, subscribe, and share so that way you and your friends never miss a minute of the show. You can also download the KVI app. Take us with you anytime, anywhere. Well, the race for Seattle mayor is heating up, and I have made no secrets about the fact that I hate the incumbent. I have personal reasons for disliking the incumbent. I ran against the incumbent when he was running for Seattle City Council, and he was my city council member, and he destroyed my neck of the woods, and now he's destroying the rest of Seattle while telling you we're going to have one Seattle, and it's going to be fine, and we're building on one Seattle, and everything else is fine, right? Even though we all know it's not. Joining me in studio, challenger Rachel Savage. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Such a pleasure. Now tell me, why'd you decide to get into this race? Because you know what it's like in Seattle politics, and if you didn't before, you know now.
Right. Well, I'm a business owner, so I have a front row seat to the destruction of our beautiful, or once beautiful, city, and it's gotten very dangerous because of the crime and the drug addiction, and I kept waiting for somebody to show up and do something. I thought any time now someone's going to come and fix the city. So I decided, well, I'm going to put my hat in the ring because I think it's time for something different, not politics as usual. In fact, not a politician. I'm not a politician. I'm a business owner, longtime Seattle resident, and I love our city, and I know that we can do better. We need a strong leader.
So I'm sorry, but you can't run in Seattle. You have too much common sense. You're saying that there's actual crime and there's actual drug problems and there's homelessness problems and things aren't okay? I mean, I can't believe a candidate's actually saying that out loud. So these are problems we've had for literally at this point decades now. So how do you plan to address them?
Well, I think we need to take a new approach, and you're right, nobody's talking about it. But every time I walk outside, if I have any doubts about what I'm doing, I live in Capitol Hill area, every time I walk outside, I see the evidence of the failure of the policies. And that's how I started paying attention. What is going on in my city? Why is there people using drugs all day outside? Why, when I go to the library, are there drug addicts everywhere and it's scary to go in there? Why are there mentally ill on the street every day? So I think we need, number one, we've got to start arresting people for crime. We need to make crime something that is wrong again. And then once we get people off the street from using drugs, committing crimes, then we can give them long-term treatment. So I want to build, and I will, a long-term residential treatment center for the drug addicts.
So there's something we ask every candidate who comes on the show who says all the common sense things you are saying. Will you call for an audit of Homeless Inc.? Because right now I believe part of the problem is we have tons of money going to the exact things you are discussing, and yet somehow the problem's only getting worse. So we ask every single candidate this, and the ones who have won have greatly disappointed us, which is why we don't even bother asking them back on the show, because we ask this one question, and then when we say, why haven't you done this yet? Can you come on the show? All of a sudden we hear crickets. So will you call for an audit of Homeless Inc.?
Absolutely. We need Doge Washington. Bring it on.
You're speaking my language. Yes. By the way, I am not the guy behind Doge Washington. I know everybody thinks I'm the guy behind Doge Washington. I am not. I do help from time to time. Okay, so that's the drug issue, but we have other issues. We have affordability issues. So you're a business owner. It's impossible to do business. We know the mayor earlier this week said the Jumpstart tax is a failure because it's chased away businesses and they're not even getting the money they expected to from that. Will you repeal? Will you work to repeal? Will you advocate to repeal the Jumpstart tax? You got to go through the city council for that.
Well, I think that the city council, with a strong leader, will be thrilled to have somebody that will be out front and help them get business done to be able to change our city. And I think that we have plenty of money. I don't think we need the head tax, actually. We have plenty of money going to Homeless Inc. We just need to redirect it. So I think that right now the city council can't say they're a fan, but I think they will be. Absolutely.
Now, my wife has always told me that the saying of don't judge a book by its cover is wrong. They should always judge a book by its cover because the books with good covers are the ones they spent money on because they thought it was going to make more money. Now, I don't want to judge you by your cover, but you don't typically look like somebody who talks in the most common sense kind of way. In fact, you look like the kind of person who's usually giving out my home address to crazy people online. So I assume that you had some kind of political evolution the way I did to end up a conservative radio host. What was that like?
Absolutely. Well, it started with having the front row seat to the problem in the streets of Seattle. And I live and work in a containment zone. I noticed your neighborhood seems pretty. I didn't see too many late-stage drug addicts around here. I saw
You came
a
on a good day. You came on a good day.
Yeah, I saw a couple. But it's bad. It's bad downtown. And so I wasn't very political before, but I started to pay attention. What is happening? What are the policies that are creating this?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that it was this extreme left policy. It was Democrats, actually. And, it's funny because people try to now they're blaming Trump now for the problems in our city. It's the Democrats' fault. They've been in power for 40 years. So I started to put two and two together. I'm a meditator. That's one of the other things that I do. And so I look at reality and I look at cause and effect. And so I started to see what is the cause of the effect. And I saw as I contemplated that actually I'm not a classic Democrat. Well, actually what I think happened is the Democratic Party, as RFK said, left me.
Ah, my favorite line. Yes, I feel the exact same way, and tons of people in our audience feel the exact same way. Where there's that cartoon that Elon Musk, I believe, shared at one point, where it's the person who's standing in the middle, as the person who's standing on the right and the person who's standing on the left. And then the person on the left goes more to the left and the distance gets greater. And then they go more to the left and then they shove the person in the middle at some point. The person on the right picks him up and then they go, "You're a fascist," right?
Yes.
So that's what it kind of seems like. Now, taking more conservative attitudes, taking more Republican attitudes, I'm going to play devil's advocate because we are the most pro-devil show on the airwaves. But that always gets a laugh. Thank you for that. You get to stay. So with regards to that, how do you plan to win over the Democrats in Seattle that vote blue no matter who?
Well, we have to change that.
Mm-hmm.
My stance is open your eyes and look at what's happening. So I think we have and people in Seattle are smart. I think they are smart. If they haven't been given a choice. They haven't been given a choice of someone to actually vote for that's going to make a difference. So I think we have the people in Seattle that are very comfortable, that are relatively safe, and then we have these containment zones that have been created by Bruce Harrell, right? Where there's crime everywhere, there's drug use everywhere, there's mentally ill everywhere. And my hope is to persuade through common sense and real solutions people that they can vote in private. They don't have to tell everybody who they're voting for, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of the vote. But of course, we need people who are going to support publicly. So I think there's a lot of people who feel like I do that used to be Democrat. They've realized the party has changed. Republican Party is the party of common sense. And they're just looking for somebody to get behind that they can rally. I think that we have more people out there that agree with us than don't.
Rachel, what's your website? Because as I'm sitting here listening to Rachel, I will say this, full disclosure, and I'm saying this on air and we're recording, you can tell by the little red light here, is that I was very, very skeptical of your campaign when I first heard about it. And I said, she's talking about Trump and she's talking about Republican politics in Seattle. If you could actually have a one-on-one with everybody, I think that's how you get the votes. So this is my advice to you. Don't get hung up on the social media. Don't do that. Go knock on every single door you can. Everybody, if you want to support Rachel, if you want to donate to Rachel's campaign, if you want to volunteer for Rachel's campaign, Rachel, give us the website one time, will you?
SavageCitizens.com, because it's going to take a savage to win,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to take all of us. It's going to take citizens voting for common sense and change and public safety in our city, and I know we can do it.
Rachel Savage, candidate for Seattle Mayor. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, just want to remind everybody about the John Carlson Goodbye Party, my friends. That's right. We're going to be having this thing on April 4th. That is next Friday. We're going to be having it at 6 p.m. out in Kirkland. Now, if you want to be part of this, we will send you the address next week. We're just trying to not put the address publicly out there. It's going to be this exclusive venue. We can't have people crashing the party, but we have a certain number of VIP tickets to give away. So if you want to be there to say goodbye to John Carlson, here's what you got to do. You got to email me to be added to the VIP list while we still have tickets left. So you email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. If you email me, we will make sure you get your tickets while supplies last. So make sure you email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. And we will send you your tickets so that way you can be part of saying goodbye to John Carlson after 30 years on the radio. Well, baseball season has already started, and that clip Mike's been playing all day is so accurate. The Mets have lost their opening game of the season. That's right, it's just like the Family Guy.
Opening day, and here's the first pitch, and the season's over.
Do you know that the Mets scoreboard guy got fired for playing that on opening day one year? He played that at the stadium, and he got fired for playing that. Can you imagine you get the job running the scoreboard for the Mets, and then you play that clip of the Family Guy? It's great. Meanwhile, the Mariners' opening day is tonight at home. Game is at 7:10, my friends. That's right. Now, King 5 had this interesting article about the weird food that's going to be there this year, and they have a picture of a colorful corn dog. This thing looks like it should be ice cream, not a corn dog. This green thing on a stick. A blue corn dog, a dessert nacho option are among the new food items that will be available at Seattle Mariners games inside T-Mobile Park during the 2025 season. The What Up Corn Dog is described as Mariners Blue. That thing is green, not blue. Honey battered corn dog with a spicy crunch served with nacho cheese. Not my jam, but okay. The Mariners announced the new food offerings just 8 days before opening day against the Athletics. Said we're very excited once again to provide fans of T-Mobile Park with what we believe is the best ballpark menu in baseball. With player-inspired dishes, a great lineup of local partners, and large value program than ever before, there's something for everyone at the ballpark this summer. I remember when they used to sell Daryl's strawberry sundaes at the Mets games. Those were great. Expanding on last year's popular player-inspired dishes, this year there's not one, but two. Not one, not two, but three players with dishes inspired by them. Ichiro Suzuki, Felix Hernandez, and Cal Raleigh. As Ichiro is set to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame later this year, the team will offer Ichi Wings at the walk-off market based on teriyaki and sesame-inspired recipe for clubhouse chicken, used to make them for the star when he played for the Mariners. That sounds delicious. The Ichi Roll with salmon, crab salad, avocado, cucumber, green onion, fried onion, sriracha, rice, and seaweed will be available at Nakagawa in Section 132. He said, we really want to bring in those Asian flavors and American flavors, said Executive Chef Craig McAllister. I'm bringing some good barbecue flavors here, so we're all really excited with all that. Mariners star Cal Raleigh will have the Little Dumplers at the walk-off markets based on his Big Dumper nickname. These pork soup dumplings will come with sesame and hoisin sauce. For Mariner Hall of Fame member Felix Hernandez, the team will have King's Court turkey leg available in Section 144. They have other items, including the sumo dog. Oh, man. I mean, this actually sounds like a lot of good stuff. I'm looking at some of these. Some of these look mouth-watering. So if any of you are going to opening day or opening weekend or anything, please tell me how some of this food is. Let us know over on the show, because I'm going to live vicariously through you, because I can't eat any of it anyway, because I keep kosher. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes today. We are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, plus a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life for 30-plus years from Brian Evans Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots so that future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit MadronaFinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we are giving away two tickets to see Riley Green at the Washington State Fair on Saturday, August 30th. Get your tickets now at thefair.com. That's thefair.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and two tickets to Riley Green at the Washington State Fair on Saturday, August 30th. Get your tickets now at thefair.com. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And if you are going to the game tonight, make sure to send us some pictures over on social media, Ari Hoffman Official, Facebook and Instagram, The Hofffather over on Twitter, of course, at KVI's channels. Maybe you'll get featured on our website tomorrow when we talk about whatever the score is tonight. Go M's! Best of luck to you guys. If my Mets are going to lose, I want you guys to win. That's going to do it for us today. Fear not, my friends. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.